Hi, my name is Greg Hodge, and I'm a candidate for City Council in District 3. I've got a little bit of a story to tell. On March 7th, I turned in 50 ballot signatures, actually 74 signatures, to the city clerk's office to run for office. And within a few days, the city clerk called me and said, "You're a few signatures short," which I didn't understand. I said, "Well, if I'm a few signatures short, how could that happen?" And we recounted those signatures with the county recorder's office. The registrar of voters basically said, "No, he's got enough signatures." Called the city clerk, relayed that information to her, and she then called me the next day and said, "Mr. Hodge, you're now qualified for the June 3rd ballot to run for city council in Oakland to represent District 3. So I thought it was all good. I went away for a few days to visit my mom in Arkansas, and while I was in the airport in Chicago, I got another call, strange call, which said, "Well, Mr. Hodge, you're 2 signatures short." Well, obviously, I was a little stressed out. I was concerned about the campaign. We've been talking about running for city council for a while, and we know our neighborhood, we know our district. People want us to represent their interests. A few days later, when I got back in town, I went back to the county registrar of voters office, who once again gave me the information, let me take a look at the records, also took that information back to the city clerk's office and said, "If you're going to tell me I've got 48 or 49 signatures, tell me which ones are invalidated." So as we talked on the phone before coming back to town, the city clerk said to me, "Well, you actually have two short, not the hip hop artist, two short, two signatures short," and asked her a question and said, "Well, how many, how could that be?" And so I talked about it with her on the phone, and before the conversation was over, she said, "Well, you're actually one signature shy, one signature away from qualifying for the ballot to represent your community in the June 3rd election." So as a result of that, I went back to her office. We began to talk about individual names of people, individual voters in my community who had nominated me, but whose signature were invalidated. And we came down to one example, Charles Mouton. Now, Mr. Mouton lives at 1518, 1520 Myrtle Street. He's my neighbor. He lives a few blocks away. And when we began to look at it, it turns out, we went to the city assessor's office, and it turns out that Mr. Mouton lives in a house, and I got the map, that has two addresses. Not one, but two addresses. When I showed this to the city clerk, I assumed that she would use her discretion and say, "Well, yeah, he's a registered voter in the neighborhood. He's nominated Mr. Hodge. His signature is there." And that's really what the intent of the law is, to get people who live in your community, who believe in your message, who believe in your ability to do good work for the neighborhood, to give them a right to participate. The city clerk didn't see it that way. So I had to go out and hire a lawyer, a great lawyer, from a firm that does a lot of election law, to basically take the city clerk and the Alameda County registrar to court to resolve this matter. What it came down to was one person, one signature, one voice, one vote, the power of one. After a few days of court hearings, it came back on last Friday, and the judge agreed with us. The judge issued an order directing the city clerk to put me on the ballot. Notwithstanding the original letter that I had that said I was already qualified for the ballot. So I had an original letter, was told by phone, and unfortunately, one of the things that happened along the way was that the incumbent, Ms. Nancy Nadell, who's our city council person, had two of her supporters, an attorney and one of her supporters, a guy named James Vann, who in those days where there was a little doubt, interceded themselves, got involved in the process, challenged my petition, and convinced the city clerk to turn it around without any process from me, without any participation from anybody who would represent me. So why do I tell this story? Why is it important? Well, it's important because everybody counts, because everybody's vote makes a difference. So on June 3rd, when we asked our community to vote for city council representatives and other offices in this community, we want to make sure that everybody gets a chance to participate, that everybody gets a chance to be involved in the democratic process. Things happen along the way. As I was collecting a signature from Mr. Mouton for the court papers, I got bit by his dog. And we kind of laughed about it, and even that one dog makes a difference. Everybody makes a difference. And so I would encourage you to tell us your story. Your story counts. Come and visit us at www.hodgeforoakland.com and let us know your Oakland story. My story is about the power of one.